We're now going to take a look at chapter one exercises. So the first thing that we need to do is to go into the folder for chapter one and look at the files there. You will see this file called .env example. Let me actually show you how that looks. Yeah. So if you look at env example, you find that there are three environment variables that you need to update. And this is the data that you actually got from the process of installing Bitwarden and getting your API keys authenticated. So once that's there, you can just go ahead and copy the env example to env underscore example to .env. So once you do that, you can start making the updates to that. So the updates would obviously be whatever you got from your previous step. So that is something that you need to do first. Then there are a few interesting things here. The first script, the code that we are going to look at is something called Platform Maturity Assessment Python. So this is the script. You can actually take a look at this one. So basically what this does is that it provides you an assessment of your engineering team's platform maturity. There are lots of tools out there, but what I wanted to do was to provide you something that you can easily use without having to download and figure out how all these things work. So I'll quickly show you how this works. So let's try and execute this. So it's a simple Python script. You can just go ahead and execute that. So it's an interactive script that asks you a set of questions and provide you the kind of outputs that you might be needed to actually make an assessment. So it's going to go through a series of questions. So if you want to follow along, I will go ahead and respond to it. Your responses obviously would be different. So I'm going to provide a few different responses for all of this. As you can see, this is fairly detailed. It actually goes through lots of different aspects of platform engineering. So these are the kind of things that we'll be discussing in the book, as well as any related courses that goes along with it. As you can see, this is not just the aspect of the actual technical abilities, it's also how the developers feel. So as you can see, it came back with an overall maturity score for the inputs I provided as 3.2, and saying that the maturity level is intermediate. And it actually gives you lots of details around all of these things. So this is something that you should probably look at as you're starting this journey. One thing to note here is that there is this assessments results have been also saved into this JSON file, so you can probably look at that and save it around so that in future when we come back to it, you can do some comparative analysis of that. So that's the first thing we did. Now let's look at the next thing. So next aspect of this is that we are actually going to do something called um, let's call it validating the design principles. So to start with, what you might want to do is to go to design principles checklist. These design principles checklist go through a set of design principles, obviously. So start with self-service, talks about guardrails, golden paths, extensibility, observability, and security. As you can see, these are the core principles of platform engineering. So this provides you a way of validating your design principles and see if that works. So how do you do it? So you just go ahead and run this. We will run the design principles with your platform config. So that's the other file we need to look at. So this platform configs YAML provides you various information about where your platform is, what are the kind of inputs that you need to provide. So obviously, if you're building multiple platforms or different users are using it, you can create copies of this and run this separately. So what would this do? Let's actually take a look at this one. as you can see, it actually went through this checking the principles. It found that it's based on the YAML provided. It says that it actually goes through various compliance activities and tells you if it is passing all the things that are required for having a good design principles there. Now, the next thing we're actually going to look at is this idea of uh, the running the unit tests around this. So this actually provides you an input saying like how many tests have been set up and how and have they actually passed it. So we're going to be using PyTest, which we installed earlier. So let's actually look at test platform config. Where would that be? Okay, test platform config. That tells you how to actually set this up. This also checks for various things. This checks for your YAML syntax validation, any kind of configuration activities, your data types, golden path, and security violation. So you can come here and try and run this. So I will see if this one works. And we'll do a PyTest followed by test platform config and they provide this option B. So, okay. So once I did that, what did it do? It actually went through the actual root directory, found the plugins, the information around that, and then it's actually ran this. So it basically said that it's got some warnings, basically saying that it can't collect the test class because it has been defined. But in general, there are no errors. So you can actually go in and look at your PyTest docs to find out how to fix these things. So that would be the third thing that we really look at. Now, let's look at the next one. Here, we would actually be installing the Git hooks. So where would the Git hooks be? So you can see that under the scripts folder, under chapter 1, there is install Git hooks. So let's come and take a look at that one. We are on scripts and then say install webhooks. You can see that this can be installed and this sort of copies some of those pre-configured Git hooks that you have. So let us try and see if this works on. So this is a shell script, so we'll run it like install Git hooks. You can see that it went ahead and installed the Git hooks, and your commit messages are here. So this must will now be validated for conventional commits format. So next time you run any Git commands, it'll sort of validate against that. All right. So the next code that we're really going to look at is this secrets upload one. So the idea is that we need to store our GitHub token securely. So basically we'll be storing that on Bitwarden that we actually set up earlier. So let's look at how this code works. So come here, you can see that upload secrets to Bitwarden using the CLI that we're going to run. So you can take a look at the script and make modifications needed, but this should generally work as is. So how are we going to run it? So we're going to run scripts, upload secrets. Hopefully this would work. Yeah, so it's actually logging into Bitwarden using the API credentials that you set, then unlocking the vault because you have provided your own API keys. And I told you earlier, like you need to go into Bitwarden like I showed in the previous demo and set those things so that you can actually go ahead and do this uploading of the secrets to Bitwarden. So this is most of what you have here in the, let me actually take a look at this one. Okay, so this is mostly what you have in the chapter 1. I also want you to show a couple of additional things. So one is this release workflow. So this is a YAML file that actually shows you how the release workflow pattern is there. And this is something that is described in chapter 1. So a typical release workflow would be like build, test, security scan, deploy to staging, approval gates, and deploy to production. So you can actually look at this one, see how this is set up. So this would be mostly for you to sort of understand how release workflow is set up. One additional thing that we can probably look at is the Circle CI. So this is also where is that? Okay, this is Circle CI config. So this basically provides you the the configuration for the infrastructure that is um, needed for infrastructure automation. So essentially, it orchestrates the Pulumi infrastructure deployments with the preview, approval, apply workflow. I know we haven't installed Pulumi, which is the next thing you will do, but essentially, this shows how it sort of uses Pulumi and Python ARPs that we have described in the chapter one. So this is most of the code that you have in the repo for chapter one. So as you can see, this is how you can install these things and get these ideas to work well. All right.